G'day, I'm Keith.
Hi, I'm Joe.
And this is our podcast, Travel Adventures with Joe and Keith. So welcome to our first episode of this podcast, where we talk about our travel adventures all around the place.
And I believe this time we're speaking about our trip to Alaska.
Yeah, our cruise to Alaska, our 7-day Alaska Inside Passage cruise on the
Celebrity Solstice.
That's the one, yeah, yep. So just recently, we're only just fresh back. Oh, it's been a month now, but it seems like not long ago we were on this cruise in June.
Yes, end of May through June.
Yeah. So this cruise went from Vancouver up the Inside Passage we went to Icy Strait Point, the Hubbard Glacier, Juneau, and Ketchikan.
This trip was actually quite a long time in the planning, which was interesting. It took almost a couple of years to plan the trip.
It'd been something we were talking about for a long time, but I guess we just booked it. We thought if we just kept talking about it, it would just never happen. So we booked it and paid it off over like 18 months or so.
And the one of the main points was we would be celebrating our 10th wedding anniversary while we're in Alaska.
Yeah.
So you actually notified me that the trip was booked by sending me an email and said happy anniversary.
Yeah. That's because that's what you do, you know. Yeah, you just book trips and email your wife with the itinerary.
And you probably heard me yelling from the other room, being all excited because we were finally going to Alaska.
I think for Christmas that year I also got you the DVD of the John Wayne movie North to Alaska.
Yes, and also the Alaskan cookbook.
Yeah, yep. Actually, that movie is a bit disappointing because I later found out that it was filmed in California and it wasn't even filmed in Alaska.
Oh, I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, well, sorry to ruin the film for you now, but yes, it was not filmed in
That's
Alaska.
Right. It wasn't like I was terribly invested in the film anyway, but everyone's heard of North to Alaska. Well, the song in particular.
Well, maybe. Like, we're like older than a lot of people, so maybe people haven't heard. There's people out there probably saying, who's John Wayne?
Don't give away our age, for goodness sake.
So we booked the trip, we paid it off. It was like a long, 18 months in the making. We booked it 18 months out, and it seemed like forever away, and then suddenly it was upon us.
When it turned up really fast, didn't it? And then it was the organisation and trying to figure out what on earth you pack for a cruise to Alaska, because we went over in their summer.
Yeah.
So we weren't 100% sure whether it was going to be hot or cold.
Yeah, yep. It was, I guess we probably overpacked a bit.
This was our first long-haul trip, though.
Yeah. So we did. Look, we sailed from Vancouver. We did spend a couple of days in Vancouver beforehand, which is probably another podcast. We need to do another podcast. You know, we need to at least do a second one and, you know, get people interested and wanting to listen to our Vancouver adventures.
Our Alaska adventures were pretty spectacular as well. I don't think anything can beat the scenery. Well, actually, saying that, Canada was spectacular.
I think, like, you know, there's spectacular things wherever you go in the world. Like, a lot of Alaska kind of looked a bit like the sounds in New Zealand, except there was a lot more snow on top of the mountains.
And ice in the water.
Yeah, yep, and kind of different kind of wildlife. But let's start from the scratch. Start from the start. When we boarded the ship, so we left from Vancouver that morning, went down to Canada Place, and I think there were 3 ships in port that day.
There may have been 4 actually. There might have been another one further over.
3.
Okay.
There were 3 because I did go for a walk that morning looking for good coffee, and that's a bit of a story. My constant search for good coffee.
Often mission impossible when you travel.
Yeah, yep. But that's a side note there. So I did go for a walk that morning, and there were 2 ships like back to back, and then there was our ship on the other side. So yeah, 3 ships in dock that morning, and this is the first cruise we've done in the Northern Hemisphere. Actually, the first trip to the Northern Hemisphere.
Yes.
So we're used to like there being 1 ship in town, cruising around New Zealand or Australia. There's only 1 ship in town, so it's a bit kind of surreal seeing like multiple ships in the dock at the same time.
And going through the overseas passenger terminal, a lot more people than what we were used to seeing in New Zealand or Australia.
Yeah. And we had to go through the customs thing because we're going onto a ship that was going to the US, Alaska being a state of the US. So we had to go through US customs, and that probably took we lined up for quite a while, but once we got through that, we're on the ship, ready to go.
It's so exciting, isn't it, when you actually walk up the gangway of the ship and you realise, wow, I've got through all of the bureaucratic stuff now, and now we're actually starting our holiday and we're on board the ship.
Went and found our room, our stateroom. We did get a balcony, which is, if you can afford it when you're in Alaska, definitely get a balcony. There's certain cruises that you don't need a balcony, if you're not going anywhere too scenic. You can deal, if your budget doesn't allow it, you can have an interior cabin or a window cabin. What do they call those things?
A porthole cabin.
Yeah, they've got some other name for them. Ocean view cabins.
Ocean view.
Yeah, yep. And look, you don't need to get a balcony cabin. You can obviously go up on deck and see things, but it was nice to have our own little balcony.
Absolutely, because you could sit out there and have, breakfast in the morning or have a drink in the evening.
Yeah.
And just enjoy the sunrises and the sunsets.
Yeah. So we checked out our balcony, and then we went and had a beer in one of the many bars in the ship.
It's interesting, we were talking about the ship earlier, the Celebrity Solstice, and we've been on a few cruises now. What was that? Was that our fourth cruise?
Number 4.
So this was probably overall our favourite ship to date. Having said that, they're all very similar in a lot of ways, and not too much to differentiate them, I guess, apart from maybe the food and the beverage offerings.
And the Solstice isn't the newest, flashiest one in the celebrity lineup. I think it's quite an old one, as far, not super old, but
it had just been refurbished though.
It had been, yeah. It had just had a revamp or refresh or whatever they call it.
It was in dry dock, wasn't it? Just a month or two before we
in Singapore,
boarded.
They did all the new stuff to it, but yeah, it was. Look, we haven't been on one of the new Celebrity Edge class ones, or one of the fancy ones, but so we can't really compare it to that. But we had nothing really to complain about. It was very nice and probably a bit cheaper. Like for an older ship, the budget wise, you can get more bang for buck on an older ship.
And a little bit smaller too than some of the ships.
Yeah.
Which meant it was somewhat less crowded than what we'd experienced on some of the other cruises we've been on.
Yeah, it didn't seem very... Like there were a lot of, there were probably 3,000 or 4,000 people on there, but it never seemed really crowded.
There weren't long queues anywhere, which was interesting.
Only for the elevators.
And
there's always queues for the elevators.
But that was really only on the first day or on shore days. There weren't really queues for the elevators on other days.
Yeah. It didn't really feel that crowded. Like you wouldn't think there was, 3,000 or 4,000 people on the ship. But yeah, there obviously was. So sometimes queues for like dinner and stuff like that. Yeah, there were lots of people, but even getting on and off, there weren't huge lineups or anything.
Everything seemed really streamlined, actually, on the Solstice. Like the disembarkation process, getting off the ship at each port seemed really easy in comparison to some other cruises we'd been on.
So going back to day one, we're in a bar having a beer when first disembarked. Embarked, not disembarked. And then we went out to our balcony and watched the ship pull away from the port.
It was exciting watching Vancouver skyline, actually, like the city sort of fade behind us as we headed out to open water.
And the previous day we'd actually been on Vancouver Harbour. We took the ferry, they call it the sea bus, from Vancouver to North Vancouver. So and it kind of leaves from that same vicinity. So we had been on the harbour the previous day in a much smaller boat.
It's obviously the biggest port we've ever experienced.
Yeah, with
today.
three ships in there.
Yes.
Potentially there could have been 4. It was pretty huge, and there was container ships and quite a few container ships moving around. There was a police boat, kind of like escorting us out. It was pretty cool to watch. It
was, and I think one of the fondest memories I have of leaving the harbour was when we were heading out towards open water and we went under Lionsgate Bridge?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Lionsgate Bridge. That was quite spectacular.
So the Lionsgate Bridge was apparently built by the dude that owned Guinness, Arthur Guinness, one of the Guinness family people, which, like the Guinness brewery, is the Lionsgate Brewery. Like, I've got to work Guinness into every episode, don't I? I should make that a thing, like random Guinness fact.
Random Guinness fact, okay.
In every episode. So yeah, we went under the Lionsgate Bridge.
And we never, you look at the bridge and you think, oh wow, is the ship actually going to fit underneath this bridge? Obviously it did. We didn't crash or anything, but it looks close when you're going under the bridge.
So going kind of out. So Vancouver, for those that don't know much about the geography of Canada, you got Vancouver, which is like on the mainland of British Columbia. And then there's this big island off the coast called Vancouver Island, which the capital, Victoria, is on this island. So we were actually sailing between Vancouver Island and the British Columbia mainland. And that one, I'd never realised how big that island is. We just seemed to be going for ages. Like we had both sides, there was, in between the mainland and the island.
And it took us forever to pass the island, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, it was kind of like we went to bed that night and we were still in between the island and the mainland.
Yeah, we were watching on the map because on your TV in the room, there's like I don't know what they call it, but you have like your location. It gives you the statistics for how deep the water is, what speed you're doing, and just watching the map and seeing where we were going past the island. It did seem to take a long time.
Yep. But we went to dinner, and that's where we met our sommelier. Is that how you pronounce it? Sommelier. Peaceman. His name is Peaceman.
Peaceman.
And he was like, he knew so much about wine. He was like, we had some really good conversations with him the whole trip. He was definitely like one of the highlights of the trip.
Yes, I think he actually enjoyed talking to people who appreciated a good wine too.
Yeah.
So he definitely waxed lyrical about wines and what he recommended to go with each dish and what he thought of the different wines. And he was lovely. He was a real gentleman.
Yeah. Yep. We really enjoyed. I think we had a Pinot Noir that night. Was it? Or no, it might have been it was a red Grenache.
It was
a white Grenache or something like that. Some kind of rosé thing.
Yes.
But yeah, we talked wine pretty much every night with him. Until I think the second last night I said, I think I nearly broke his heart because I had a beer, not a wine.
Well, we certainly had more than our fair share of awesome wines on that trip.
Yeah. And we brought a couple of bottles on as well. Like you can bring a couple of bottles on of wine on yourself. So we had our own wine in the room as well. So then, we had a whole day of sailing, which no shores or anything, but there was usually always land in sight. It wasn't like one of those, not like sailing between Australia and New Zealand where there's lots of nothing in the middle there. There was usually always land in sight.
And the seas were smooth and it was like a really smooth trip.
Yeah. So we I think we had a whole day of sailing. Then the third day, our first port stop was Icy Strait Point, which used to be a big salmon canning place.
Yes, and they've built up a whole, I guess, tourism-oriented port around the cruise ships now coming in.
Yeah.
So there's a whole heap of little touristy shops and restaurants and a bar that we went to for lunch.
So when we were pulling in there to Icy Strait Point, there was at least two other ships in there. I know there was a Princess ship that was moored out. Mustn't have got a dock. It was anchored, and there was tendering people in, which means if you don't know what tendering is, they get the little boats and you get on a boat and then you go into shore.
I didn't quite know what to expect of Icy Strait Point. I knew it was a place that had sort of built up its industry around the cruise boats coming in, but I quite enjoyed it, to be honest.
It was. I guess compared to the other two ports we went to, it was just a town, not a town, but like I guess the way to explain it would be like a theme park, like how you go to a theme park and every business is the same, as in they're like all owned by the theme park. So wherever you go, the food's the same, even if you go to a different restaurant, it's the same food. You go to a different souvenir shop, it's the same souvenirs.
We actually we had reindeer chili, didn't we?
Reindeer chili.
For lunch.
Yep. So you get on you get off the ship at Icy Strait Point, and there's like this first part where there's like a souvenir shop there. There's like a little shipping crate that serves beer and tacos. And then there's like a what is called a skylift thing, gondolas, gondoliers.
Gondola.
Those things, yeah, where you get on and you go to the next part. Or there's like a bear trail where you can walk along and kind of walk to the next part. But we caught the gondola thing.
Gondola.
Gondola thing, which was, it was because got to see over, the tops of things and everything.
And we shared our gondola with some other Aussies and
That was on the way back.
Kiwi. Oh, that was on the way back.
Yeah, you're getting,
okay.
Yeah. You're getting ahead here. We had there was an Irish one.
Oh, that's right. There was an Irish person. Yes.
Yep. So we at the end of the gondola, there was like a little kind of, I guess you call it a shopping village thing, souvenir shop, a cafe, pub kind of thing. Where we went into and had a couple of beers. Alaskan Brewing.
Our first experience of Alaska Brewing, yes.
Yeah, yep. And that's where we had the reindeer chili.
Which is the first time I learned that caribou and reindeer are basically the same thing.
Yep.
I probably sound really dumb, but I wasn't aware that a caribou was actually a reindeer.
And then while we were sitting there was all this excitement because there were humpback whales like jumping up and down. So I ran out with the camera and had the long lens on the camera trying to take a picture, and then it didn't come out. Then I came back in and then just wanted to put the camera down.
The whale breached.
Yeah, breached, and then this like backflip, side flip thing. And
because the view from the venue where we had lunch, like the river was right there. It was right outside the window.
Yeah, it was, yeah. And then everyone was getting excited, rushing out because there were whales doing things, and yeah.
You can never time these things, though.
No, you can sit there forever with a camera, and as soon as you turn it off, they can jump out and do things.
You did get dorsal fin shots and tail
shots,
flicks, yeah.
Yep. So then after that, was that lunch or that was
lunch?
That was more like breakfast. Second breakfast. It wasn't lunchtime.
You sound like a hobbit.
So we went for a walk along the boardwalk around to kind of the next part, which is like the main part that had like kind of a big souvenir shop area.
It was kind of like a souvenir market.
Yeah. But most of the shops are all the same anyway because they're owned by that same corporation. I think it's like community kind of corporation thing. There was I got some pretty good photos, like they had a jetty there and some mountains in the background and that, so I think I got some pretty good scenic.
And we did get some good souvenirs as well, I have to say.
Yep, I got my hat that says Alaska.
Yes. Is that where I bought the drink bottle?
Yes, your drink bottle, because you lost that one at Vancouver?
Yes. So my drink bottle that I brought all the way from Australia, my stainless steel drink bottle, kind of vanished and went missing and never recovered it. And I was looking for a drink bottle, of all things, in Icy Strait Point. And I eyed this one off that I really liked the look of, that had Alaskan art on it, like a bear. And I thought, if it's a cheap, tacky, Chinese-made drink bottle, I'm not interested. And I asked the sales assistant whether she knew where it had been made, and she didn't. And I went, okay, that's fine. Anyway, we wandered around the souvenir shops and then popped back into this one where the drink bottles were. And she said, I'm so glad you came back. She said, I've actually looked this up for you, and I found out that drink bottle, the art was designed in Anchorage in Alaska. So it's a genuine Alaskan artwork on the drink bottle. So I paid probably way too much for it and brought it home, and I've used it ever since. One of my favourite souvenirs.
Very good. And I think I actually got a decent coffee there too.
You did?
Like a reasonable pretty good coffee.
You wax lyrical about that coffee.
Well,
The first good coffee you'd had.
look, with much as I love cruise ships and cruising, most cruise ships don't have very good coffee. So I've been like a day, without a decent coffee, and yeah, I actually did. I kind of ummed and ahed whether I was going to attempt to order a coffee, and it was a pretty good coffee. Not the best one I had. There were a couple of better ones further on in the trip, but not, definitely.
But you're able to finish it.
Coffee.
You're
It
able
was
to finish
okay
it.
coffee. Yeah. So, look, you can get a decent coffee at Icy Strait Point. There you go. If you take anything away from this podcast episode, you can get a decent coffee at Icy Strait Point in Alaska.
Yes, and also noting that all of the shopkeepers and sales assistants in Icy Strait Point were really friendly and super helpful. So that was a highlight.
Yes. So after a bit of souvenir shopping, I think I actually got some little little coffee cups too, like what for when I make a piccolo latte at home.
Is that when you got the can of salmon too?
Oh yeah, the can of salmon that got taken off me at Auckland. I got almost back home and then it got taken off by airport security at Auckland. But not because it was breached customs or anything. It's because it had liquid in it and I had it on my carry-on baggage. So I should have put it in the checked baggage and it wouldn't have been a problem.
It's because it was a 200 milliliter can as opposed to a 100 milliliter can, and the maximum liquid allowance was 100 milliliters.
Yep. So it was customs-wise, it wouldn't have been a problem. I just should have put it in the carry-on baggage. So yeah, lesson for everyone out there. When you're at Icy Strait Point, yes, you can get a great coffee, but if you buy salmon, put it in your checked baggage, not your carry-on baggage, because if you go home through Auckland, they will take it off you.
Yep. But overall, the Icy Strait Point, I enjoyed that a lot more than I thought I would. I didn't actually go in with super high expectations. I had been looking forward to our next two ports probably more, but I was pleasantly surprised.
It was interesting, being that it's not like a town where people live and there's different businesses. It was all like the same business, but it was well run. It was good. The scenery was great. I had some conversations with some great people there.
The food and the beer were good too.
Well, I think we had another beer at one of the other.
We did.
Another Alaska Brewing Company.
You may see a theme
The
here.
Red. Actually, the Alaska Brewing Company Red ale was my pick.
Yes.
So then we went back on the gondola on the way back, and that's when we met So there were people behind us, and you're waiting at the gondolas, and the gondola people said, "How many people you got?" And there were these 3 people behind me, and they wanted to get in the next gondola with us. So I said 5, or 5 of us. So we all jumped in together. And then one of them started talking. I said, "You're a Kiwi." So there, a couple of Aussies, a Kiwi, and there's a Canadian as well, who was actually a little bit quiet.
Probably didn't know what to say with all the Aussies and Kiwis around.
Well, yeah, she kind of mentioned, I'm a Canadian, and we had a good conversation on the way back.
Is that the gondola they called the party gondola?
The party gondola. The
Yes.
Kiwis and the Aussies, and one Canadian along for the ride.
I enjoyed the gondola actually.
And then we got off the gondola, found another souvenir shop with the same thing, but you got a couple more things, didn't you?
Yes.
I went and got another beer, out of the shipping crate. I think a couple of beers, and then we sat down at this kind of table and saw this, like, this was the first close-up wildlife encounter. There was a squirrel.
Okay, tell everyone what I thought it was.
A chipmunk. And then we had this conversation because we're thinking about the chipmunks on the cartoons. So I thought it was a squirrel. Joe said, "Oh, is it a chipmunk?" And then we had this conversation about, well, the Tasmanian devil on the cartoons looks nothing like a real Tasmanian devil, so maybe a chipmunk doesn't look like a real chipmunk.
Having said that, I did actually correct myself because I realised that chipmunks, when I'd seen them in wildlife documentaries, had stripes down their side. And this animal did not have stripes, so I agree with you then that it was a squirrel. But not having ever seen either before, I was a little bit unsure.
Other than the chipmunks isn't a wildlife documentary.
I'm talking about David Attenborough documentaries.
All right, okay. So with the squirrel chipmunk thing, whatever it was.
It was very cute.
Yes. And it was like, it had no like fear of people or anything. It was obviously like, like a pigeon or, obviously
A bin chicken.
used to the eating all the scraps hanging around people, knowing where knowing that people are sloppy eaters and they're going to drop crumbs and stuff.
It came up very close to us, didn't it?
Yeah, yep.
So first wildlife encounter, well, actually second, because we did see the humpback.
Yeah, first close-up wildlife encounter. And there was some sort of crow. Are they called crows? What are they?
It was a raven.
A raven, yeah. There was a raven there as well. The raven was raven on.
Was it?
Yeah, yep.
They look different to crows.
Yeah, they've got like weird eyes.
Different beaks too.
So then I went for a walk along the bear trail thing, hoping to find a bear, but there were no bears.
No bears.
I was actually hoping to find somewhere where I could get a good photo of the ship, but there was like too many trees and stuff in the way. So
we did actually see their equivalent of a magpie over there. Their magpies are completely different to our magpies.
They've got long tails.
Yes. They look like a cross between a peewee and a magpie, actually.
Yeah, they're kind of. I think the British magpies are kind of similar too. They've got these really long tails that kind of hang underneath them when they fly.
And they're not very photo cooperative, shall we say?
No.
Keith tried to get a few photos.
I tried to get photos of a lot of wildlife with not much luck. Later in that holiday, because we spent a few days in Calgary after, we went to the Calgary Zoo, and there was a polar bear, and all I could get was a picture of his backside.
Yeah, bum shots.
Yeah, just got bare ass photos. He wouldn't turn front on for me. So after we had a beer, we got back on the ship, and then we watched, because we were hoping to see some pier runners. So do you want to explain what pier runners are?
Yes, you do.
You can.
Pier runners. Okay, so when you're on a cruise ship is not going to wait for you if you get back late. You're told the time you need to be back on board. The only exception they'll make is if you've actually taken a shore excursion organised by the cruise ship, because if they run into difficulties, they will wait for you. People who just go under their own steam and go ashore and do their own exploring, even if they get back 5 minutes late, the ship is likely to already be on the move out. And pier runners are the people who are running late, and then they get into a mad panic because they realise the ship's going to leave without them. And it's a source of huge amusement for everyone who's already on board.
So we've watched a lot of YouTube videos with pier runners. So we're hoping to see some pier runners, but there were some people cutting it fairly fine, but no pier runners.
Not in Icy Strait Point, no.
We had a really good view because we had our balcony was like looking right over the pier, so we were hoping to get some pier runners, but no luck this time.
No.
So we set off from Icy Strait Point, and we went. The next day we're going to the Hubbard Glacier. So about mid-morning, went to this like big, huge glacier called the Hubbard Glacier.
It was the coldest, I think, the coldest experience of the entire trip. The closer we got to the glacier, the more freezing it got.
Yep. And there was another ship. I think it was a princess ship. Another ship.
We had a Viking ship. There was a Viking ship there.
Another cruise ship there as well. And it's pretty special to look at, pretty spectacular to look at. There was a little island thing that had some sea lions, some very noisy sea lions.
Yes, I didn't realise how loud they were and the noise that they made. They sound like a cross between a pig and I can't even describe it really. It's grunting.
Yeah, very noisy. I think there were two big males there.
Who outweigh the females, I think, by at least 5 times. They're massive.
They each had like a huge harem of females there.
I actually thought at one point the 2 males were going to go for each other because they were sort of heading towards each other.
Yeah, I thought we might have seen some sea lion fights, but didn't happen.
I've actually seen in wildlife documentaries they can get quite vicious, and you see a lot of the males have big scars and everything on their bodies because they attack each other with their mouths.
Yeah.
But it was the glacier was spectacular. It's kind of like when you're photographing wildlife, as Keith was saying earlier, wildlife don't cooperate. Neither does the glacier, because the glacier did actually carve. So carving with a glacier is where chunks of ice actually fall off the glacier into the water. Trying to have your camera set up so that you can actually capture that moment is very unlikely to happen unless you're extremely lucky. And we did miss carving on the camera.
The view was like a really spectacular view, and it's like no photo ever does it justice. I took like 1,000,000 photos, maybe not 1,000,000, but a lot of photos, and they're all right photos, but they don't actually show like the big picture, I guess.
And it was kind of hard too, because when you actually are there in person, the water is icy. Then you've got the glacier, which is white and icy, and the sky is icy white. So everything in the photo turns out white. It was difficult to get that contrast.
Yeah, yep. We spent a few hours there. I think there were people that had these special excursions. They paid extra. They got on these other little boats that went out and did these got closer to the glacier.
One of the best photos you got actually was there was like some little boat like right at the base of the glacier, and that turned out to be a really good photo because you actually saw the scale then of how big the glacier was.
Yep. The ship too, it was good because the ship kind of like turned. It didn't like anchor in the one spot. It kind of turned around so you could see different views and different angles.
Which I think is really good because you don't know what side of a ship to book your balcony on if you're going to get a balcony cabin. So when they do a 360, you get, at least everyone gets a chance to see the views. And they did the same thing when we were in New Zealand in the Sounds, didn't they? They did a 360 in the Sounds, so.
Yep. So the probably the best photos I got of that were like from the top deck of the ship as we were sailing towards the glacier, because there were all these like islands with like big snow-capped mountains and everything. So
and lots of pine trees.
I guess that put it more into perspective of you kind of come up on deck and it was like it was like looking at Santa's village kind of thing. So some of those photos, not so much while we're at the glacier, but as we were sailing towards the glacier, I think were more spectacular. And that leads into giving our YouTube channel a promotion here, because we've also got like a YouTube channel which is JNK Go Travelling. So check that one out, because that's going to have all these photos on there that we're only talking about on the podcast. So check that out and subscribe to that one. And while you're at it, make sure you subscribe to this podcast as well. It only takes like 2 seconds to hit that subscribe button while you're doing this.
I think the other thing that surprised me about being near the glacier, and I don't know why it surprised me, I guess because it was summer, was the amount of ice actually floating in the water, like big chunks of ice. You wouldn't call them icebergs, but they were big chunks of ice.
Not like huge like iceberg chunks, but yeah, there were some pretty big chunks of ice in the water.
One other thing I'll say about the glacier, which really surprised me, was the fact that, look, they had a guy on board the ship who was like their equivalent of a park ranger or someone who works for the national parks over there. And he was explaining different things about the glacier, and he was doing like a talk on the microphone, obviously from the bridge when we're there, and he was saying, now listen to the sound, can you hear the sound? And I realised what he was talking about was what I actually had thought was a helicopter or thunder rumbling in the background. And now apparently the glacier always sounds like that. There's like this rumbling noise that sounds like a storm's going off in the distance, but that is where the glacier is actually moving, because they constantly move. So that was kind of like, to me, that was special.
Yeah, it was kind of, it made you, because I did hear that rumbling sound and not sure what it was, but it was actually this ice like
Moving,
yep. So that afternoon, the ship started like sailing out. I think we went to lunch in the restaurant, talked to a couple there who were also having lunch, an American couple. We got into a conversation about the metric system and all those kinds of things.
where my husband was actually glaring at me because he knew that
Don't mention the metric system.
don't mention the metric system to Americans.
Yeah, so we had lunch, and then I went to the gym, and look, this was like the best, most amazingest view from a gym while you're having a workout that I've ever had. Up the top deck of the gym, and just looking over the glacier and the snow-capped mountains. It was seriously like, imagine if every gym you went to had that kind of view. It was a shame that the weights were in pounds and not kilos.
We're not allowed to talk about the metric system, remember?
Yeah, so we're at this stage now. We're actually going to wrap this one up because we need to do part 2 of this, and a part 3 probably, because we're only at the Hubbard Glacier, and we've still got a lot more of this adventure to go. So you're going to have to wait. Well, you're going to have to listen to episode 2.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. All right.
Bye
Thanks
for now.
Listening, like, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. Make sure you do it. Don't just say, yeah, I'll do it and not do it. Make sure you do it. And yeah.
See you for the next one.
In the next episode.